was my Prophet 5. It's a reissue Prophet 5. It's not an original from the 80s. It's you can see here we've got the revisions 1, 2, and 3. So I'm using revision 3, which is exactly what the Expanse 5 from Acustica is based on. But this does have some nice little extras in it. But before I run through that, I'll just run through this tone I've been creating. Been playing with this for about an hour or so, actually. It sounds like a really simple tone. It's number 111 on the Prophet 5, and it's called It's a Prophet. But it's a beautiful sounding thing. And as I say, it's a little bit more complex than it sounds, because it's got the envelope on the filter. Obviously, we've got the amplitude envelope. We've got a little LFO going on one of the oscillators. So if I turn oscillator 2 off, little LFO in there. And I should just preempt this whole thing by saying the Prophet 5 is really difficult to do comparisons with against software, really, because this thing does go a bit out of tune, and you could hear there, the tracking's not perfect. That sounds a bit wonky down at the bottom. And then I can press tune and get it all spot on again. But I'll be doing that throughout the video because it's one of those days where it's getting hot and cold. But overall, forgetting the wonkiness that I'm getting on Prophet 5, but that is part of the joy, I suppose, of an old, well, I say an old synth, of an analog synth. But you can hear we've got the same tone there. Actually, they're both sounding a little bit wonky. That's the LFO. It gives it a lovely wonkiness. Then when you add the second oscillator, it gives it a lovely, like, rich chorus type effect. So I think they're the same sound, really. And in fact, I've been listening so closely to it, I thought the envelopes were a bit different in there, and the Expanse wasn't copying or emulating the Prophet 5 very well. And I realised I had this on version 1 and 2, which has different envelopes. So that will sound different on this. Whoops. The envelope on, I think, well, the 1 and 2 just tends to last a bit longer. And you can hear the filters different as well, so. Pretty good, that, isn't it? Next thing, to just play around with this on this and show you that they aren't absolutely identical. If I put the keyboard control of the filter on full, the sort of control or 0 on that is slightly different, because if I do the same on the software, I don't get exactly the same. I've got to then just tweak that cut off on the software. Where am I? It's really annoying me not having the 5 octaves. You can hear I could just do it, increasing that filter slightly. And then I'm there. So that's the same. What octave am I on? And as that is my favourite tone on the Prophet 5, or the one I use the most, the fact that Expanse can do it perfectly says to me straight away that, yeah, we're onto something pretty good here. But, you know, so let's stop playing with that tone then and just go through some of the parameters individually to see if they are actually the same. Okay, stripping it back to a simple sawtooth then. I am getting tuning issues with the Prophet 5. It is slightly out. If you look at, well, you can hear it. I mean, that's part of the charm, as I say, of analog synths, but if you're trying to compare it to something that's not doing it, you'll think, oh, there's differences in the sound there and there. That's minus 13 cents. That's plus 29. That's minus 7, and I have just tuned it, so I might have to get it looked at this, to be honest. But anyway, so yeah, there will be minor differences. Moving over to a square then. Sounds flutier, like more hollow on the Expanse 5. Yeah, so the Expanse 5 seems to be rounded off as you go higher up. Yeah, so they do round off as you get much higher. That's interesting. Never knew that. Again, this tuning's annoying me a bit, but let's have a little play with the width of this. So it doesn't actually get through 0, but it almost does. And on the software, definitely goes through 0 there. So on this, I'm not quite getting that. That's the thinnest I'm getting it. So minor differences, and if we try the triangle, let's have a play with that. Oscillator B. Pretty similar, can't really go wrong with a triangle, can you? Yeah, so I'd say there's minor differences in that. Let's try a little bit of sync. So that's oscillator 1 modulated by the filter envelope on both of them. One thing I have noticed is that the Expanse 5 has got much more range. I say much more, but it's got a bit more. So to get it the same, just knock it down to about 9 out of 10 and stick sync on both of them. So that's sounding pretty similar, isn't it? Oscillator A is an octave above Oscillator B, by the way. Trying to remember how to play it. Do the same on this, just make that decay a bit shorter. And I suppose while we're looking at this polymod, let's adjust the frequency of A with Oscillator B. Let's take the sync off. Just trying to do identical things on both of them. So sync off, Oscillator 2. Let's actually turn it down to start with and just try that on the software. It's pretty close, that, isn't it? It's minor differences in getting in tune and will affect FM tones drastically. So, but that's actually really quite close, isn't it? And so we try it on the filter as well. So let's knock the filter down halfway-ish. Do the same on this. Modulate the filter. But while we're playing with the filter, let's put the quality on this onto Giga. I'd say it feels a bit smoother on the synth itself. Maybe that's just because the resonance was a bit lower. Yeah, it's much more similar now, isn't it? Get the resonance off, just trying to get a feel for it. Put a square in there. Same again on the software. Not vast differences, but it's not identical. Interesting, you're getting a similar sort of weird little changes with the pulse width. So yeah, it's not identical, but I wouldn't say it's vastly different, but I think it just feels overall a little bit smoother through the FM on the synth itself. Playing with the filter, that is, modulating the oscillator, it sounded pretty almost identical. And I suppose that really does bring us to the filter. Okay then. Add some resonance. Let's try and copy that down here. What was it at? About 500. Add some resonance. Yeah, we're getting really similar results here. Let's have a play with that. And with the profits, the tuning by semitone there. Wonder if that's the same here. It is. Great that. See if that breaks up the same. Yeah. Yeah, very good that, isn't it? Yeah, I'm pleased with it, but you know what I mean? If anything, I'd say the software is a little bit more resonant. Or maybe not. Tiny bit more fluty, perhaps. But I wouldn't say there's much of a difference between two Prophet 5s, to be honest. Yeah. Now it's good. I think that's all I wanted to do with it. I'm not really bothered about how fast the LFO goes and stuff like that. Maybe we should just do that just to be, you know, to be thorough. So let's put LFO on frequency of A. Just to see. I think this is going, the software's going a tiny bit faster. Yeah, it is, but not by much. It's still within sort of Prophet 5 type limits. It's not going into like really FM territory and stuff like that, is it? So yeah. Another minor thing I've noticed on the modulation is that on the synth, that's the maximum amount of modulation you're getting. Whereas on the software, we're getting a full octave, which is much more useful actually. So you can do sort of fake sequences with that. But on the software, we can't increase that modulation. No matter what I do. Whereas on the synth, there's the octave, and you can go much further. But again, you've got this unipolar and this phase control, so you can go down rather than up. And you've got a unipolar mode as well. So, although I'm not quite sure it does because it's not working, doing much or anything, as far as I can tell, for the frequency of the oscillators. Maybe it's doing something with other things. But while we're talking about what the Expanse has got and the Prophet 5 doesn't, we've got this lovely little arpeggiator unit. Of course, the synth doesn't have an arpeggiator. And at the top, we get the Acustica effects that we get on their other synths. Just load the initial patch. And then add some aging. So you get that vintage slop. We've got a super stereo effect. Spreads the voices. We've got a detune in there as well. So you can do all that sort of vintage style thing with the Acustica. And then we've got a sub as well, which you don't get on the Prophet 5. That can be a sine or a square. And then this saturator, well, all these effects are pretty cool. And the saturator got loads of different types of saturation in there. And they actually sort of compress it and change it in all sorts of cool ways. Let's turn the effects on, eh? And if we turn this squiggly line on, we get an oscilloscope. Does things in the sort of time domain as well. It's quite cool. But I'm not going to go through all of them, but lots of different options there. Little EQ, chorus, which is based on the Juno type chorus. Let's take the saturator off. Great little effect that. And you can add some nasty Juno noise if you like as well. A delay, loads of different types of delay in here as well. Oh, that's your sync. But lots of different types of delay. If we go to the space echo, tape echo there, add the mix. I just wanted to show you that on the feedback, you don't get that mad self-oscillation. You get a sort of nice variant on it that doesn't take things too mental. But you know, loads of nice little effects in there. And then over to the reverb. These are all based on Acustica's plugins. So they are great quality effects. Just go to a large hall. Let's go to a resonant plate. Let's add it. Make it massive. make it dark, taking off all the top end. The only thing I'd say on this is that the pre-delay isn't massive. It'd be nice to have a bit longer pre-delay. That's a more obvious one, but if you want really detailed effects, you've got them in your DAW or by Acusticas. Then we got quality, normal, mega, eco, and giga. On giga, if we look at my CPU, this is an M1 Mac. So let's add all the effects. Set the saturated off maybe. I'm using a fair amount of processing power, but if you look at the top there, that little line. That's 2 out of 8 processing threads, going to 50%. That's about 1/8 of my total processing power to play a chord with 4 notes. And with more notes, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes. That was taken up to 75% on 2, so that's just over 1/8, which is what, maybe 20%. Plus, of course, we've got all the original Prophet 5 tones and loads of additional ones as well. So, yeah, it's a fine little synth. Is it absolutely identical to my Prophet 5? Well, pretty much, except for those bits on the FM. I just found it a bit smoother as I'm playing. I don't really know what it is. It just didn't have any sort of jagged edges on the P5. But, you know, I was taking it right to the extremes for pretty much everything else. And I have been playing with it for quite a while. So is the Expanse 5 a good emulation of the Prophet 5? Yes, it is. Is it absolutely identical? Not quite, but then, you know, neither might 2 Prophets. And if somebody had a vintage Rev 3 next to this, they might say this doesn't sound as good as the Rev 3 that the Expanse 5 is based on. So it's always a bit, you know, there's always grey areas in these. But yeah, it's a decent instrument, and the filter sounds great. The oscillators are great, and it's very much within the same sort of parameter values as the Prophet 5. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please do subscribe, ring the bell, do all that sort of stuff. Join me over on Patreon. And I will see you next time. And thanks very much for staying to the very end.